Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert Cabo, the Fantasy Football Counselor. We are talking starts and sits for Fantasy Football Week 2. Big episode. Going to go over all the optimal players to start, all the guys that have the good matchups and all the guys that have the tough matchups. This is very important because I get asked a lot, Joe, who do I start? This guy, this guy. Well, you're going to know because I'm going to go over all the optimal plays so you have a good idea who's hot and who's got it in tough this week. Go download the DraftKings app, guys, right now and use promo code FFLINE. Create an account, guys. Football is finally here, and you can immerse yourself with DraftKings, guys. They are the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL, guys. I play every week, and the nice thing is you get to draft every single week, guys. DraftKings.com. Go download the app right now. Use promo code FFLINE and dive in the game. Now, new people that use that code FFLINE have a shot at over $1 million worth of prizes. So tons of opportunity, tons of perks, tons of excitement every single week. Download the app. Use promo code FFLION. Understand, guys, a $5 minimum deposit is required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Now, let's get to the show, guys. We're talking starts and sits for Fantasy Football Week number 2 already. Let's go. All right, guys, welcome to this show. I'm excited to talk about Week 2 starts and sits. The show is brought to you also by Manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION. Save yourself 20%. I'm wearing the underwear right now, and my balls feel super comfortable. Shave around that bush. Keep it clean. Keep it fresh, and the ladies will come. They also have ball wipes, other amazing grooming products, including this amazing Ultra Smooth package that I have here behind me. Great products, guys. Manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION. Save yourself 20%. All right, let's dive into this, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys click subscribe. Thumbs up always helps the channel, and comment, interact. I'll answer some of the starts and sits questions right here below if I can, so leave the comments below. I'll try to get to as many as I humanly possibly can. It's very difficult. And also join the Fantasy 365 community below where you get as close as direct access you can to me, waiver wires, all that fun stuff, DFS optimal plays. All right. Let's go. In regards to quarterbacks, let's start off with the guys that I guess have it in tough this week, okay? So Sam Darnold coming off a 20-pointer week last week. He's got it in tough this week. He is playing the Saints. It's going to be an interesting one here for Darnold. But in DFS, and again, every Wednesday I do a DFS show. He's $5,200. He's a value, but I'm not starting him this week in DFS for sure. Now, in year long, I mean, I'm hoping you have better options, but this week he does have it in tough versus the Saints, okay? So probably the toughest, hardest matchup versus position. So just be aware of that. And if you are starting DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, stuff like that, they've got it in a little bit tough. Jimmy Garoppolo got it in tough here. I put him on the cover art. He is playing Philly. You know, he had a pretty decent week. The first week, 19 points, got it in tough. Dak Prescott, third hardest matchup versus position. Tua, he's got it in tough here versus Buffalo. 17-pointer week last week. He's got it in tough. Carson Wentz, things don't get easier for him coming off a 19-pointer. They need a win here. The Colts need a win, and they got it in tough here versus the Rams. Lamar Jackson, sixth hardest matchup versus position versus KC. Now, here's the interesting with Lamar Jackson. I've been talking about this. This guy is good, but the problem is he's got no weapons. Like, he's literally got zero weapons. Like, who does he have? Hollywood Brown. What has Hollywood Brown done? Absolutely nothing. He doesn't excite me, to say the least. Their running back core is dismantled. And I think they brought in Devontae Freeman. He was on the practice squad. He's moved up now. Again, it's just he doesn't have anybody. So, Lamar Jackson, it's going to be interesting. He's $8,000 on DraftKings this week, which is really expensive. But it is what it is. Just letting you know, if he does bust this week, he does have it in tough. Kirk Cousins has it in tough versus Arizona. Josh Allen has it in tough versus Miami. Zach Wilson, Derek Carr, all have it in tough. Derek Carr coming off a big week last week, 28 points and a win. Got it in tough versus Pittsburgh. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does this week. Again, these are just tough matchups on paper. They could absolutely boom. I mean, Carson Wentz could have the game of his life. Same with Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins, all these guys. But I'm telling you, these guys have a tough matchup on paper versus that defense, okay? Mid-range matchups, Ryan Tannehill, Jameis Winston, Mac Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, Andy Dalton, all these guys, Teddy Bridgewater, all mid-range matchups in regards to difficulties, okay? Optimal matchups, guys that have it in really good, you may want to consider them in DFS or if you're battling between which two quarterbacks to start, you may want to consider these guys here. Russell Wilson's got it in good. Tyrod Taylor coming off a big week 1. Yeah, 24 points, but, a win there. And he is playing Cleveland. Jared Goff, good matchup here versus Green Bay. I mean, their defense has literally been like Swiss cheese, okay? Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Justin Herbert, Pat Mahomes, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, all good matchups for his position. A lot of people are scared about Matt Ryan. If you have a better option, start him over Matt Ryan. But again, he does have it in good versus Tampa Bay in a make or break type of week for him because, again, there was a terrible, abysmal start week 1 for Matt Ryan and the Falcons. I know there's a lot of fantasy stock in Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, guys like that. Just terrible. And I kind of told you Mike Davis is not a guy I would get excited about, okay? So those are your optimal matchups. And I encourage you guys to go back and listen to this again to get a good feel in regards to, go back and listen to see who the optimal players are. Moving on to running back, and I got to talk about this real quickly here. I really want to talk about Saquon Barkley. I'm gonna put this on my story mode here. Again, I'm just going to talk to my Instagram people, tell them to tune into the podcast. All right, 1 second here. What's up, YouTube? What's up, Instagram? I'm on my podcast and YouTube recording. What's up, YouTube? Instagram people right here. And I got to tell you guys, we are breaking down the starts and sits for the week. So make sure you guys click on the link in the bio, subscribe to the podcast. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Saquon Barkley. In that situation, YouTube, that's what I want to talk about here is Saquon Barkley and expectation because we're talking about the running back starts and sits. So we're going to be touching on the Saquon Barkley situation. Of course, all the optimal plays. Make sure you guys link in the bio, subscribe. All right, back to you guys, YouTube and podcast here. I like doing that as I'm doing it live. The reason I like to sometimes do story mode here when I'm doing it live because I've got so much energy when I'm doing my show, and I want to bring that energy into my story mode because we get tens of thousands of people. I mean, I've got millions of impressions on Instagram on a monthly basis, so I just want to get them involved as well. So let's move on to running backs here. And again, like I said, I want to talk about the Saquon thing real quick. Listen, I mean, coming off that ACL tear, whatever it was. Listen, his knees messed up. It was in the offseason. He's fully back, healthy now, but you've got that rust. And I remember being an MMA fighter, amateur, and I remember actually being in the best shape of my life fighting. I felt slick. I felt sharp. And then I went to a sparring session about a year or two later, and I was like a fish out of water. Man, I had I was slow. My reaction time was slow. It takes a while to get back into it. And the promising thing is with Saquon is the fact that he looked good. I mean, considering he wasn't getting a lot of volume, but the thing was he was out for every snap and he had that big run, which was really, really good. So I think they're still trying to work him in. The nice thing is, again, he's got that confidence back and he's got a 10-day rest till he plays again. So Saquon Barkley, I'm not too worried about because, again, he's going to be a gem after, week 3 and beyond. In my opinion, I'm super excited. So hang on to that gem. And he still got 8 points out of him. I know it's not exciting, but he kind of held his own for the second week anyway. All right, so let's move on to the optimal plays at the running back position. Tyson Williams, I don't know how much volume he's going to get, but he's got a good matchup versus KC, okay? Just to be aware of that, all right? Tyson Williams, Baltimore, got it in easy. How much volume? That's going to be a question mark. I just heard their offensive coordinator say that, I hope you enjoyed it because, there's the days of the single running back are gone. They're going to be going by committee, and we know Lamar Jackson likes to run the ball. So Tyson Williams, $5,500 on DraftKings, but still doesn't excite me. I mean, if he doesn't get a touchdown, he's totally messed. Miles Sanders has got it in good versus San Fran. Again, with Miles Sanders, again, so does Jalen Hurts. I'm excited. I ended up buying a Jalen Hurts rookie card or two. I'm excited about Jalen Hurts now. And again, I wasn't on him for fantasy this year because I hadn't seen enough. He wasn't proven to me. Now he shows that he's capable, and that's something that we want to see. When you draft a quarterback, always get a guy that's consistent. And I got Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson. So again, when you look at Jalen Hurts, a guy that hadn't proven it to us, and now he's got the opportunity to shine. Okay, Miles Sanders has got it in easy. Melvin Gordon got it in easy. I mean, again, he busted off for a run, 24 points last week. He's got an easy. Javonte Williams, again, will he get volume? That's something to watch. Aaron Jones coming off a terrible 4-point week, 4-point week. I stayed away from him this season. Him, Dylan, they've got an easy versus Detroit, just something to be aware of. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, only a 10-pointer last week, got it in pretty easy versus Baltimore. I'm not starting this guy, but Chase Edmonds got it in easy this week against Minnesota. Other optimal matchups here, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, they've got it in a little easier with Atlanta this week. I would start them. Jonathan Taylor coming off a good week 1, 18 points against the Rams, relatively easy matchup against the rush. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams coming off huge weeks, both of them finishing 3rd and 4th respectively amongst running backs. They've got it in good. Derrick Henry's got a favorable matchup against Seattle coming off an 11-point week. He's got to bounce back, okay? Guys that have it in tough. Let's talk about the guys that have a tough matchup versus the rush. And again, the guys I don't mention, and if they're on your team, they've got a mid-range matchup. James Robinson coming off a really tough 8-point week 1. He needs to get the volume, needs to get going. Tough matchup versus Denver. It's going to be a tough week. Christian McCaffrey, arguably the toughest matchup versus position. Myles Gaskin. Again, McCaffrey coming off a huge week, but he is playing the Saints, just so you know. Myles Gaskin versus Buffalo's gotten in tough. Austin Eckler coming off a terrible performance. He had 12 points, touchdown, carried him. Playing Dallas's rush defense, he's going to have it in tough, 4th hardest versus position. Alvin Kamara, he's got it in tough coming off a good week. Carolina's defense. Mark Ingram and that whole committee, I'm staying away from the entire committee in Houston, got in tough against Cleveland's rush defense. Something to be aware of. Again, I'm staying away from that committee. Josh Jacobs, I think he's a little banged up. I believe he is questionable, but he is playing Pittsburgh's. I would probably sit him unless you have a better option. Again, very touchdown dependent. Zeke Elliott, things don't get better for him after week 1's terrible performance with 6 points. Zeke Elliott playing the Chargers rush defense, got it in tough, 9th hardest matchup versus position. And Dalvin Cook's got in tough as well against Arizona and their rush defense. Dalvin Cook coming off a huge week last week, but is not going to be the easiest for him this week. Also, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt against Texans rush defense going to be a little bit tough. A lot of people ask about Darrell Henderson. Listen, I think Sony Michel eventually gets integrated. Darrell Henderson looked pretty good. He's got the 12th hardest matchup versus position this week against Indianapolis. Something to be aware of, something to think about, guys, this week if you are starting Darrell Henderson. It's not the easiest matchup for him, but definitely worth considering if he's there for year long, okay? Just based on volume. Let's go to tight end, then we'll go to wide receiver. And again, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed, thumbs up, walking you through this, holding your hand, trying to give you all the optimal plays. And again, just because I say they're optimal plays doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to perform. I'm just telling you that they are favorable versus that position, right? They've got a good favorable matchup. If it's a tight end, like, for example, Jared Cook moving on to tight ends, he's playing Dallas. He's got the easiest matchup versus position because Dallas plays the tight ends a little bit softer, okay? So Jared Cook, easy matchup, easiest versus position. Pharaoh Brown, right? Houston. Jordan Akins, they've got it in easy this week. They're playing Cleveland. Then we've got Dallas Goedert and Ertz, and we've already talked about how favorable the Eagles matchup is versus San Fran. And again, I invested in some Jalen Hurts cards, and he looked good in week 1. So it's really exciting to see how this is all going to play out with Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Good matchup here. Travis Kelce, good matchup here as well. Finishing with 26 points last week. Third to fourth easiest matchup this week against Baltimore. TJ Hawkinson showing he's the primary target. As I said, this is why I liked him as a 3rd-round pick. Hawkinson breakout year versus Green Bay. It should be a field day. Gronkowski coming off a big week. Also a great matchup versus Atlanta. Austin Hooper, Cleveland, Njoku, both good matchups this week. In Cleveland versus Houston, they end up playing tight ends a little bit weaker. Okay, something to be aware of. Okay, Higbee coming off a decent week last week. Good matchup versus Indy. Other guys you should be aware of with mid-range matchups. Tonyan, he's not exciting me. It's got to be a make or break week for Aaron Rodgers, man. He's getting a lot of flack for last week. Understandably so. It didn't look like he was even trying. I don't know, man. We're going to find out this week. This is a telling tale for Aaron Rodgers, okay? And again, I got to tell you, let me put this in my story mode as well. And again, as I'm talking to the podcast, I just turned on my Instagram stories. This is really a telling tale for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers shows that he's slacking again, that shows how much he cares about the Packers, because I really think that's it for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Maybe he comes out and tears it up, and it is the last dance. But based on last week, the physiology wasn't there. The performance wasn't there. This is going to be a telling tale for Aaron Rodgers this week. Make sure you guys swipe up, subscribe, watch this episode. Coming soon, starts and sits. That's a game to watch and to see what Aaron Rodgers does this week, okay? Let's move on here, guys. George Kittle mid-range matchup. Let's go to the tough matchups. Gesicki, tough matchup this week against Buffalo. Be aware of Gesicki. I know a lot of people starting him in year long. just don't be afraid. Don't be scared if he has a crappy week. Geno Smith from New England, they play, Jets play them a little tough for the tight ends. Pratt Freiermuth, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, versus, I don't even care if I'm pronouncing it right, playing Vegas here. These got it in tough as well, him and Ebron. Another guy, Gerald Everett, got it in tough this week. Just so you know, Tennessee play tight ends a little bit tougher, but crazier things have happened. James O'Shaughnessy and Jacksonville and their tight ends got it in a little bit tough here versus Denver, and Tyler Kroft. Ryan Griffin from the Jets against, like I said, New England. They've got it in tough. Okay, just something to be aware of. Okay, a lot of people ask. Darren Waller, 10th hardest matchup versus position versus Pittsburgh, got it in tough, but we know where Derek Carr is going, so volume is going to be there for Darren Waller. You definitely don't want to consider sitting him. Guys that you may want to consider sitting, Brandon Ayuk. And again, I told you this about Brandon Ayuk. I got to put this on story mode as well because I'm venting here. And, I told you guys on YouTube, on everywhere, and I had Deebo Samuel on my show. Now, it was a breakout week. It was week 1. But Deebo Samuel, 36 points compared to Ayuk's donut. And everyone's like, Ayuk, and Ayuk's ADP was higher. Now, I know it's 1 week, but I told you that Deebo is the wide receiver one of the team based on talent and everything. Yet people kept saying, Ayuk. I know it's week 1, but we're going to find out this week exactly what's going to happen. But again, a lot of questions are going to be answered this week. I'm excited. I really, really am. And I really think that Deebo is the one. He was on my podcast. I had him on my show and I said it. So, Deebo is definitely the one there, but he's got it in tough this week. Amari Cooper's got it in tough as well versus the Chargers. CeeDee Lamb. Who else? Michael Pittman. CeeDee Lamb and all the Cowboys versus the Chargers. Michael Pittman, what's going on? There, who would have thought Pascal is the guy? Pascal, 2 touchdowns last week. This is another week. Who's it going to be? We're going to find out. Pittman's got to get it going, okay? DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, they've got the 4th hardest matchup versus position. They are playing New Orleans. Be aware of that. The receivers, Diggs, all those guys from the Bills, they've got it in tough versus Miami secondary. Other guys, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, they've got it in tough versus New England, just to be aware of that. Who else has got it in tough? Now, this is really odd. Philly's actually got it in tough. Just so be aware of this. Now, understand, Jalen Hurts, the tight ends, they've got it in good, but the wide receivers and the secondary, okay, understand, guys, having a little bit tougher. So Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor against San Francisco secondary, their corners are better. So just be aware of that. Adam Thielen got it in a little bit tough versus Arizona. Jefferson, obviously the same team. You guys got to figure that. When I say a player and I don't mention the other player, just understand if Thielen has a tough matchup at wide receiver, the other player does as well. Jalen Waddle having a 16-point week last week. They've got it in tough versus Buffalo. We know that. Buffalo, good defense. We saw that. Sammy Watkins in Baltimore having a little bit tough versus KC. And the Steelers have a mid-range matchup. So Deontay Johnson, all those guys, okay? Nelson Aguilar, mid-range matchup with New England and the Jets. Okay, it's not going to be a walk in the park. Same with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, mid-range matchup, but they should walk all over Atlanta. That should be an absolute shootout. Okay, but again, versus the versus the corners, again, not the easiest matchup versus position for the Buccaneers, but they should have a field day. Easy matchups, Tyler Lockett. Tennessee Titans secondary, not the greatest. Calvin Ridley should have a field day again this week. Favorable matchup for both him and Ryan, actually. Should be a good one. Against Seattle, Atlanta wide receivers. The Bengals wide receivers have it in good. Let's keep going here. The Bears wide receivers have it in good versus Cincy. Again, works both ways. Cincy versus Bears. Bears versus Cincy. Should be a high-scoring affair there. But again, I think you should take out Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton has no business being in there. Bring in Justin Fields. Again, how long are we going to prolong this? Dalton threw an interception last week. He didn't throw any touchdowns. Why is he on the field? I don't know. Mike Williams with the Chargers. All of the Chargers have a good matchup versus Dallas, the secondary. And finally, the Packers have a favorable matchup. And Hopkins does as well. Arizona and the Packers both have a favorable matchup this week. Something to watch out for. Aaron Rodgers has to make it this year, or we're going to find out what kind of BS he's up to. And then Chark also has a good matchup this week with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's go over some defenses here real quick. The defense matchups that I like. Again, go back and listen to my Wednesday DFS show as we dive in here. Good matchup, Seahawks versus Tennessee, Lions versus Green Bay, potentially could be a good matchup depending on how Rodgers plays. Also, Packers have a good one versus Detroit, but who knows? Buccaneers based on last week's performance, could have a good matchup defensively, could walk all over Atlanta, but Atlanta could come out and break out, okay? Patriots theoretically have a good matchup, and Bengals versus Andy Dalton, also a good matchup. Now, you could also say Broncos, based on last week, have a good matchup against Jacksonville, but it could be a coming out party for Trevor Lawrence. So really, guys, 2-3 weeks, we're feeling it out. By third or fourth week, we should have a good feel of who's who and what's going on. But I'm excited to watch some football this week. Okay, guys? Make sure you guys do subscribe. Thumbs up. Those are starts and sits week 2. Already week 2. We are flying. The weeks start flying by once we get into a rhythm here. Make sure you guys subscribe. We go year round. And again, guys, go download the DraftKings app. Use promo code FFLion. Go create an account. I'm out, guys. Subscribe. We'll talk soon.